Welcome to my New Mexico Backcountry Discovery Route video. Before I get too far into the video, I need to stop and thank Bart and Galen. They found me broken down on the side of the road through a bizarre series of events, which you'll see later in the video. I had gone through 2 tubes in 12 hours and really had no hope of getting out of this situation. They came riding by, just starting out on their trip, going the other direction. They actually gave me one of their spare tubes, which put their trip in jeopardy, but got me back on the road and got me home. So guys, thank you very much. Can't thank you enough. So if you're interested in the route or unfamiliar with the BDR, you can find a map at ridebdr.com. Of course, this one's under New Mexico. It starts in Del City, Texas, and ends in Colorado. My trip actually started in Tulsa, 700-mile day to near Del City, and then at the end I went to Pueblo, and then a 700-mile day home from Pueblo. So 4.5 days actually on the BDR, and then the additional 2 to get there and home. It was an amazing trip. I would recommend camping on this trip versus some of the other BDRs. You can actually easily stay in hotels. This one is pretty remote. The towns are very small. There's not always accommodations, but staying in the national forest was amazing. I went in September of this year, so the weather was perfect. It wasn't too cold at night, wasn't too hot during the day. Got to see some beautiful scenery. So the rest of this video will be actually in my helmet, experiencing the ride as it happened. So if you like this kind of content, I would appreciate a like and subscribe. And here we go.
So this was last night's campground. I'm in Pine Ridge, which is about 40 miles, 20 miles from Del City, which should be the start of the New Mexico BDR. So I rode 700 miles yesterday on the interstates. A lot of it was 75-mile-an-hour speed limit to get to the start, or close to the start of this BDR. So I'm now almost 20 miles in, 20 miles outside of Del City, and it's pretty cool. Stay there. Travel turn to this. So I appear to be working my way to those mountains. I believe I'll be up in those before too long. I may have rattled my drone too much. I just launched it and tried to get it to follow me, and it says I have to connect it to a computer and recalibrate the vision system. So, may not have it follow me the rest of the trip, but at least I can still get footage. This is one long straightaway. So I think that I get to loop back on through that somehow to the left, because it looks like the trail loops back on itself. It must put me on the other side of that ridge, or possibly up in there. I gotta fly the drone on that. Appears to be climbing the ridge as I suggested when I was down below. Didn't realize it would be asphalt. So down in that valley, I'm not sure if you can see it on the GoPro, but that long straight road in the middle of that valley is what I came in on. Now we've looped back up top here. Just came into a little campground area or turnout. The road is not this rough. saw that little overlook. Thought I'd go check it out. This is the top of the ridge.
Please check it on the map.
Pretty awesome. Conditions have gone down a little bit. I was at one point thinking I might get 2 sections today, section 1 and 2, but had to slow down for quite a bit of unpredictable washouts and the like. Snake, rattlesnake. Wow, look at the rattle on that guy. Second rattlesnake I've seen. About 80 miles from Del City. To give you an idea how remote this backcountry route is, there's 150 miles between the first fuel stops today. And they don't always have gas at either end. Look at that. That's pretty phenomenal. Hard to watch the road when you got a view like that going on. All of a sudden we're on dirt. I'm at 103 miles outside of Del City. Still trying to, weed should be 153, so I have 50 more miles just to get to gas on day 1. First gas stop. Believe it or not, this surface is the squirreliest I've been on yet. It just wants to surf. I'm not sure why. Just loose rock. At 124 miles, it turns into asphalt, which I came to ride dirt. But I gotta tell you, I'm kind of happy for this asphalt. Nice little change of pace. Hopefully it goes a little bit. I just got out of weed. They did have gas. The attendant said in 6 years she's run out of gas 3 times. She was surprised that people didn't think they had gas. Anyway, been a beautiful day. This looks like Colorado. What a difference in the scenery. Little road next to this clearing next to these trees has been going on for a while. Just keeps winding through. It's really cool. So different than this morning. Probably said that several times. This is pretty cool. Green forest. Check this out. Wow. Never-ending forest. If my math is correct, though, I'm barely going to make the end of Section 2, Ruidoso, in time to find camp and set up. I was kind of surprised it took me all day, but it sure has. I stopped and flew the drone several times. You can see the road goes all the way up to the left as far as you can see. And I've been doing this as long as I can remember. It's pretty unreal. To stop and take a picture of this, even though I'm in a hurry. It's just too epic. I have about 80 or so miles left today. Do not know how hard they're going to be. It's rocky though, man. It's definitely a bumpier than some of the other stuff. It's hard to believe everything I've seen today. One day, gone from what I felt like typical New Mexico desert to what feels like Colorado mountains. So I still have 60 miles to go. At this rate, that's 2 more hours of riding like this. Be about 15 miles. I'm gonna run out of light before I hit camp. I might be in a hotel tonight. It's Monday morning, ready for day 2. It's about 7:45 local time. The campground I showed up at last night, right at dusk. Perfect time to get there. And it was on a national forest, and I guess it's closed due to COVID. So I ended up just grabbing a hotel, which wasn't all bad. Got a good night's sleep, and we're ready for today. This is Ruidosa. It's been one of the concerns I've had with being solo is sand. There's a couple of big sections on this route, and then the other concern would be Chloride Canyon. Sounds like it could be challenging, and the road is definitely deteriorating further in I get, but that's what we came for. Pretty good downhill. Can't tell on the GoPro though. Just flew the drone over this. My goal today is to try and make possibly 2 sections, or at least a section and a half. This is just open and so empty. It is so different than what I've been doing. So crazy. God, the landscape has changed. About 100 miles and can be sandy. So good on the sand. I've had some deep pockets I do have to watch out for, but nothing to write home about, thankfully. This goes on forever and ever. kind of a turn. Haven't had a turn forever, but now right back to long and straight. I can now see some mountains in view. I assume that's roughly where I'm headed. I think I've got about 50 more miles to go. Oh, the mountain range is getting closer. Well, the road to truth or consequences is never ending. Look at this road. I mean, it's as far as you can see. Look at that. Forever. Wow, that lake is down. So I've started section 3 about 1:30, or truth or consequences to reserve. It's about 165 miles. I don't intend to get the whole way. I'd like to get to remote camping in the national forest. The big thing about section 3 is Chloride Canyon. On the map it says it's an intermediate plus section and should be skipped if you're not a intermediate plus rider. A prolonged technical section with 100 small creek crossings. Well, the problem is I don't know whether I'm an intermediate plus rider or not. So I'm at least going to give it a try. In theory, I can always turn around if it gets too much. That might be another adventure bike in front of me. Boy, if he's doing Chloride Canyon, that would sure be nice. Do that together. Unfortunately, the gentleman I just met was not doing Chloride Canyon tonight. He's kind of taking it easy. So I'm going to do Chloride Canyon on my own. So I was supposed to cross a creek 100 times. I'm wondering if the creek is dry, like if this would have been a creek crossing right there, because I haven't crossed, only about a mile in. I haven't crossed anything. Still nothing too bad. I mean, these are baby heads, but there's a track down the side, and it's not steep. So I'm not really sure. Maybe I just haven't gotten to the tough part yet.
So unfortunately, at this point in the video, I just changed my GoPro battery and failed to plug in the microphone back in on my helmet. So the audio goes to absolute garbage for the entirety of Chloride Canyon, which is the toughest part of the New Mexico BDR. So I'm going to talk for just a second, and then I'll put on some music for the rest of Chloride Canyon. Pretty much as soon as I get out of Chloride Canyon, I hit rain, had to take off my helmet, take the GoPro off, and realized what had happened, and I fixed the problem. So I had been dreading Chloride Canyon, not dreading, but anxious about how it would turn out doing this solo. Obviously, if you run up against an obstacle where you drop the bike, it becomes quite challenging. I did end up running the entire thing at factory pressure, so I believe that's 33 in the front and 41 in the rear. And the reason I kept everything at factory is I was trying to make my tires last the entire trip. It's about 2,800 miles for me from Tulsa to the bottom of New Mexico, and then from the top of New Mexico back to Tulsa. I was trying to do it on one rear tire, and I didn't want to drop my pressure. So here I finally get to the most challenging part of the trip. I'm looking up to the right, that's where I need to head, and I decide, you know what, I'm gonna take a run at it instead. So I go off to the left, then I contemplate for a while whether I should let some air out of my tires. But I decided to just go for it, and it all worked out. And so the rest of this will be me climbing out of Chloride Canyon until I fix the audio.
So the rain is pretty well past. Just really a sprinkle. I just realized that the audio, I didn't plug in the mic after I changed the battery on the GoPro. So all the tough parts of Chloride Canyon, I'm going to have to overdub. About 5:40. Sometime in the next 30 to 45 minutes, I'd like to find a place to camp. Gorgeous. I keep passing campgrounds, hoping to get a few more miles under my belt. I found my campsite. It's $5. The site is pretty epic.